Oh my goodness. I honestly can't remember. Probably soon after they opened it, and I don't know for sure when that was. Um, Maybe 5 years, 6 years, I don't know for sure. All my life.
All right.
I only got about 38 miles from where I was raised. Giving back for all the blessings I have been given. Health, a good profession, a wonderful husband, and a savior. I'm a retired nurse. It'll be 59 years in December. Why is it important? One, because there's a need. Two, because you get more than what you receive.
And is every day
Or you
different?
get more than what you give, I should say.
And do you,
Yes and no. Yes, sometimes some things happen more than other days. For me, 5 days a week, basically I come in, organize, set up. The other 2 days I cook, as well as set up. On Tuesdays, I cook scrambled eggs with attitude, which basically means green peppers, onions, meat, and cheese, and American fries, and plain scrambled eggs. On Saturdays, it varies. Last Saturday, it was biscuits and gravy and sausage. It could be a breakfast casserole. It could be waffles. It could be pancakes. It could be just hard-boiled eggs and breakfast sandwiches, donated breakfast sandwiches. Why did I choose? Probably because I started with Room at the Inn when it was first started, when Helen started it, where it went to the churches where they were fed breakfast and dinner at the churches. I did start early on with that, and then when they came here, I just kind of followed. Well, the other thing is, I'm a member of the senior center when it was open, and a woman one day said, I knew she volunteered here, and she said, and I said, well, what do you do? Well, I make hard-boiled eggs, and we usually have breakfast sandwiches, and I thought, okay, I can do that. I can make hard-boiled eggs, and that's kind of how it started.
and what's your daily routine?
Well, first thing is, of course, is wash your hands, start the coffee, put out the condiments for coffee. If the chairs are down, sometimes I'll take the chairs down. If the tables look like they need to be cleaned, I clean. If I'm cooking, of course, then I start the cooking part of it. Some of them, not all, some are not quite as easy to get to know. So, and because I'm mostly in the kitchen, I don't always get to know them well. And in fact, I still struggle with many of the names. And there is a turnover. Some people are here longer. Some people that I was particularly close to have left. So and one day, one of the guests that had been here came back to visit from her apartment before COVID. And when I was so happy to see her, and I gave her a big hug, and when she left, I thought, oh my word, it's like part of your family. So, but yeah, and you get to know, there's one person likes the coffee this way when we used to serve it, now they're serving themselves. Another person likes the coffee this way. Some people likes the eggs with attitude. Other people just like scrambled eggs and potatoes. So yeah, and you know that some people, their history. They've told you your history for one reason or another, and you almost have to cry when you hear some of the histories and why they've become homeless or why they have other problems. I guess one thing I would say is not everybody can do it, but if you do it, you will be rewarded in one way or another. Even if it's a simple thank you, or your breakfast was good, or nice to see you tomorrow, or yes, the blessings are many. just many. A lot of people do volunteer food and bring in food, and they usually have special meals for like Thanksgiving. I'm sure they will have a special meal. Um, it's kind of like you would expect in a family a setting where you have, you know, conversation back and forth between the guests. You have a good meal. I don't know if they say a prayer on Thanksgiving or not. I have no clue about that. I've never been here for the noon or evening meal on Thanksgiving, just for breakfast. And on Christmas, many people in the community bring in little gift bags, if you will. Possibly bring in, well, already they're starting to donate handmade gloves, and mittens, hats, scarves, socks, and it all goes for a good use. It's all goes for a good use. And we do have people who graduate from Room at the Inn who get their own apartments and become independent, and because they're no longer part of Room at the Inn, now they cannot come back. They can come in to pop their head in to visit, but they are not to eat once they get their own place to eat. Just keep up the good work. I became involved in the Red Cross after the tornado hit Moore, Oklahoma in '99. We were in Wichita, Kansas, which the tornado also hit Wichita, Kansas, and we had extra time on our hands, so my husband and I volunteered at a warehouse for the Salvation Army, and they asked me to go out in the canteen. And what I saw, basically in my head, I said, I can do this. I would like to do this. That was my calling, if you will. When I arrived back in Marquette, there was a class. I was a nurse at that time, and I picked up the classes for disaster health services. It wasn't until I retired that I could go out nationally. I had a chance to go to New York, but the place where I work said, no, we need you here. In a way, that was a blessing, because the nurse that did go had health problems for many years afterwards. But so after I retired, I did start going out nationally to many different places, many different types of natural disasters. So, and then I had some health issues, and I let my license lapse, so I do not go out as a nurse anymore, but I go out in what you call sheltering, which is a lot similar to working at Room at the Inn in the way, or at the warming center. When I was out this last time in New Orleans, I did feeding, except for the COVID experience, which is a little bit different now with the Red Cross. It's a lot the same. These people are homeless. A lot of people were homeless this time, not because of because of natural circumstances, not because of family or other circumstances, but it's very similar. And the one thing I say about going out with the Red Cross, it's a win-win-win situation. You help people at their biggest time of need. You meet wonderful people, both clients, guests, and volunteers. And you get to go places that you might never have gone in if you hadn't had this experience. So and there again, you get back more than you give. Yeah, well, yes, I did. Last year I did not go out nationally at all, but I did help with the apartment fire, with Pine Ridge apartment fire. We had the shelter, I think it was about a month that we had the shelter going, and I was there many nights. So, yes and no. None that were an active part at Room at the Inn at that time, but there were guests that had been at Room at the Inn that were now living at Pine Ridge Apartments. So there are at least two that I can think of off the top of my head. So yes, I did see some of the people that had previously been guests here at Room at the Inn.
During a tough time.
What was it like? It was it was giving back. You know, people in circumstances like that, there are many, many people who are very, very grateful. There's always a few that have many, many complaints. That's life. But it was giving back, and it was receiving as you're giving. Not really. My calling was kind of scriptural in the way in Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, he is, I have it written down because it's important to me. Whom shall I send? Here I am, send me. And then there is a chorus in our hymnal. Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. And that kind of sums up my calling, and that sums up why I continue to do it.